Joined right now by our friend Alex Kane. He is the CEO of SportTrade. Go to getsporttrade.com right now and download the app onto your phone as I have done and as you should do. It is NFL playoff weekend. It is another college football playoff semifinal still to come. Alex, how are you?
Very good. Happy Friday.
It's great to have you here, Alex. Let's start with the game that everybody is talking about right now in Denver, and that is the Broncos on the road at Buffalo Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium, Sunday at 11 a.m. 8.5, big number, not the biggest number on the board of the AFC playoff games. Baltimore laying a bigger number at home against Pittsburgh, but 8.5 for the Broncos as the 7 seed, going to take on the 13-4 Buffalo Bills, led by Josh Allen. When you first look at this matchup, what are your thoughts? Again, 8.5 and 46.5, the total.
Yeah, I think this is a great game to sort of look at a buy low opportunity, right? And that's the beauty of sport trades. I see 8.5 as the spread. I see that Denver's offered at 20%, which is about plus 400. And I think a lot of people out there might say, I don't want to bet Denver plus 400, but what you may consider doing is buying Denver at 20%. Now, functionally, same exact odds, but what really differentiates sport trade is you're really looking for movement. You're really saying, well, do I think they're going to, if they score first, if they're in the game, they hang in the game late, they're in the third or fourth quarter, and they're within a score, what does that probability go to? Does it go to 30%? Does it go to 40%? If it goes to 40%, you double your money. So I love buying low in these sort of games because in the playoffs, anything can happen. Bo Nix is a playmaker. Josh Allen's been uncharacteristically really responsible with the football, but we
Yeah.
know generally he tends to throw a lot of interceptions. And can that happen early in the game and Denver take a 10-0 lead, which case that 20% hits 50%, and then you can dish out of it. And that's the magic of sport trade.
Yeah, you remember the Monday night game a year ago. Denver goes up to Buffalo, and Josh Allen turns the ball over early on in that game. Suddenly, Russell Wilson and the Broncos able to pull it out. So Denver was able to get that victory. And kind of to your point right there, Buffalo's defense is not lights out by any stretch. If the Denver offense can hit that dink and dunk stuff, find some room to be able to run the ball on the edges and hang in this game, maybe you have got a close game at the half. Maybe it's in the third quarter, maybe even in the fourth quarter. In which case, you talk about Denver right now at 20%, and that's just as to win the game outright. It's plus 392 on the money line at 20% odds is what you're giving them to be able to win that game. If this game is close, third, fourth quarter, one score game, maybe even tied, maybe Denver has a lead, what happens to that number?
That's the beauty of it. I mean, even in the let's say they get the ball first and they start driving. I mean, that number is going to go from 20 to 22 to 25 to 28. And it's you're sort of watching it and look, if you go in and you say, look, I just want to place my bet. I don't want to have to watch the app the whole time. You can do that on Sporttrade, and at least we're going to show you that constant win probability, something you can at least check in on. It's almost like if you merged your favorite sports betting app and ESPN's live win probability. But what it also allows you to do is get into a bet with no expectation to keep it. And that's where this sort of buy low, sell high happens. And the crazy thing about the market is you think the probability would be somewhere, and then you look at the app and it doesn't match up. And when it doesn't match up, those are your opportunities to say, wait a minute, Buffalo took the ball, they scored. It's 7-0 Buffalo, and now Denver's offered at 8%. That's my entry point. Because I think Bo Nix can get the ball, drive down the field, and even if they score a field goal, they're going to go from 8 back to 15%, and I'll effectively doubled my money. And so it allows you all these sort of opportunities. You can even do that for the first quarter money line, the first half money line. You can do that with a total or with a spread. It's most fun and easy to sort of follow along if you do in the money line, because you have this infinite opportunities to think, okay, I took, Denver here at 8%. They're now at 15%. Man, well, wait a minute. Buffalo gets the ball back. They don't score. They go three and out. That goes from 15 to 25%. Denver starts driving again. Like, when is the right time to cash out of this? And I think that all of these games, look, you're down to fantastic teams at this point. It's hard for me to see any blowouts happening, maybe with the exception of the Baltimore game. And I don't think the Buffalo Denver game is going to be a blowout.
All right, Alex. Tonight, Ohio State and Texas in the other semifinal. Ohio State is a 6-point favorite in this game. We saw Notre Dame pull off a fun one last night, but now the Buckeyes getting ready to take on the Longhorns. We know what Ohio State is. They've been a different team since they lost against Michigan. Really overwhelmingly, the public action on this game is really on Ohio State. What do you advise bettors that are using Sport Trade on games that have such a lopsided action on one side or the other?
I'd say my advice is be really picky on price. Um, One of the really great advantages that Sporttrade gives you as a customer. I mean, how many times you look at a line on FanDuel or DraftKings or enter your favorite sportsbook's name, and you say, okay, Texas at plus 200. I would take it if it got to plus 250, plus 200. I don't know. I'd encourage players to get really picky and choosy about price. Just because the game's on, just because you're going to be watching the game, doesn't mean you have to bet the game, especially if you don't like the price. And that's where Sporttrade giving you the tape, which is a live feed of all the bets coming in through in real time, gives you that opportunity to say, okay, people take Ohio State. Ohio State on the money line goes from 68% to 69% to 70%, which means that Texas's probability is coming down 32, 31, 30%, and then you go, boom, 30%. That's where I want to get in. We saw a lot of this last night's game when the flu and concerns about
Yeah.
potential flu happened with Notre Dame, where they came from 55% and closed at the start of the game to 49%. And where we saw the most amount of action is after the market moved, then the sharps came in and said, well, I didn't like Notre Dame at 55, but I love them at 49. And so anyone out there looking, don't just automatically hop on the team that everyone's fading or that everyone's taking. Look at where the price is going. And if the price isn't moving, that's telling you something. If the price is moving, then maybe after the move, you're affording yourself a way better price than if you weren't patient in the first place.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at it. Ohio State at -6, which is the point spread that is generally being used everywhere. Sport Trade giving it at 50% odds, but -102 on the money lines. That's more earnings for you when you win. Alex, what else do people need to know about Sport Trade, about the difference in Sport Trade? We've been talking a lot about the probabilities. I've been telling the listeners about it here in Denver on Altitude Sports Radio. But what do you want people to know about Sport Trade?
It's all about buy low, sell high. And I think when you start to think about, we had a customer last night, he made about $5,000 betting on Penn State. You might think to yourself, wait a minute, Penn State lost. What are you talking about? How did he make money? He must have bet the point spread. Well, he didn't. He actually made $5,000, a little bit more, by buying Penn State in the third quarter when they hit 20%. And then, of course, there was that resurgence that we all watched in the second half where Penn State scores, they score again, they get the ball back, they went over 50% and the customer sold. And so when Sport Trade is not like a sports book, we're always going to give you a very fair cash out offer where it really reflects the value that you've earned in your bet. And when you think about sports betting in that way, you can start to say, well, maybe I will take Denver 8% down 7-0 because I haven't even seen their offense yet.
Yeah.
Maybe Buffalo gets the ball first and drives down the field. And it's less about taking a long shot. 8% is like 12 to 1. Maybe you don't think Denver's actually going to win, but Sports allows you to buy low, 8%. They go down the field, they score a touchdown, they go back to 20% and sell high. And once you start thinking about sports betting that way, you'll never think about sports betting the same ever again.
Yeah, this is the difference you get with Sport Trade. Go to getsporttrade.com and download it right now. Also, one of the great things about Sport Trade, Alex Kane right there. If you need to get in touch with Alex, he's accessible. The transparency of Sport Trade is one of the things that I love about using this service. Alex Kane, everybody, he is the CEO of Sport Trade. Alex, good work as always. Thank you.
Thank you.